Every year in college football, there are a number of strong quarterback battles as we get closer and closer to the season. The 2021 college football season is still about 3 months away, but there are some really interesting quarterback battles that are taking place across the country. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the 10 most intriguing quarterback battles that are currently going on. Before we get to today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to the channel. I post a lot of college football content, so if you enjoy videos like this, then this is definitely the place for you. We're going to kick things off with Ohio State, which is arguably the biggest quarterback battle of any FBS program. As of right now, they have 3 contenders fighting for the starting job: CJ Stroud, Jack Miller, and Kyle McCord. After some really successful quarterbacks from Ohio State over the last decade, who is going to be the next? Well, Jack Miller started the 2020 season as the backup quarterback to Justin Fields, but CJ Stroud finished the year as the number 2 option and was the more highly rated prospect from Ohio State's 2020 recruiting class. Kyle McCord is a 5-star freshman from the 2021 class and was named the Pennsylvania Player of the Year. In Ohio State's spring game, all 3 quarterbacks saw solid reps. Stroud went 16 for 22 with 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Miller was 17 of 30 with 128 yards and an interception, while McCord was 12 of 17 with 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. This truly is a quarterback battle that could go 3 different ways, and I wouldn't be shocked if either one of these guys was named the starting quarterback. But I don't think we're going to have our answer on this battle until a few weeks before the season begins. We're going to stick in the Big Ten and switch over to Ohio State's biggest rival, Michigan. As of right now, they have Cade McNamara, Alan Bowman, and JJ McCarthy all battling for the starting quarterback spot. The Michigan starting job has been a carousel recently, especially over the last year. First, Dylan McCaffrey opted out of the 2020 season with the intentions of transferring. Then in February, Joe Milton entered his name into the transfer portal. The starter at the beginning of the 2020 campaign was Joe Milton, but he was eventually replaced by McNamara. Cade appeared in 4 games last season, throwing for 425 yards with 5 touchdown passes. Meanwhile, JJ McCarthy is a 5-star freshman who signed with the Wolverines back in December. McCarthy is the highest rated quarterback to sign with Michigan at a high school during the Jim Harbaugh era. Finally, you have Alan Bowman, who showed flashes of really solid potential while at Texas Tech. In 19 games with the Red Raiders, he threw for 5,300 yards with 33 passing touchdowns. Again, just like with Ohio State, I could see this quarterback battle going a number of ways, so I'm not going to give my prediction or guess who's going to win, as I still think we're not going to have an answer for at least a couple of months. Up next on this list is Texas A&M. They had a pretty solid quarterback in Kellen Mond, but he declared for the NFL draft. The current battle looks like it's between Zach Calzada, Haynes King, and Eli Stowers. We'll start with Calzada. This is his 3rd year with the program, but he's seen limited action before. He threw just 24 pass attempts in 2019 and didn't play at all in 2020. Up next is Haynes King, who was the number 5 dual-threat quarterback in the 2020 class, and was essentially the backup quarterback to Kellen Mond last season. Finally, you have a 4-star quarterback in Eli Stowers, who's also in the mix. I think this battle is likely going to come down to the first 2 names I mentioned. Each quarterback has played snaps for Texas A&M, and they both have years of experience in the system. However, if I were to make a prediction, I think Haynes King is going to end up with the starting job. Up next on our list, we have Notre Dame, who actually might be getting an upgrade with Ian Book leaving. I'm totally joking. Well, maybe not. Now, Ian Book was a fine quarterback, but he wasn't good enough to lead the Irish over the hump and win the big games when needed. But he was still a very solid quarterback for Notre Dame. They'll have a good amount of quarterbacks competing to win that starting job in 2021, including Jack Cohn, Brendan Clark, Drew Pine, and Tyler Buckner. We'll start with Jack Cohn, who is probably the most recognizable name on this list. With the emergence of Graham Mertz at Wisconsin, Jack Cohn decided to transfer to Notre Dame. He made 19 starts with the Badgers, including a Big Ten title game appearance and a Rose Bowl back in 2019. He completed nearly 69% of his passes and has thrown for 3,300 yards with 23 touchdown passes. The name that can make it a competition is likely going to be 4-star freshman Tyler Buckner. During the 2019 season as a junior, he threw for 4,500 yards and had 53 touchdown passes compared to only 6 interceptions. He also added 1,600 yards on the ground while averaging 13 yards a carry and had 28 rushing touchdowns. But we didn't see him at all in 2020 due to the COVID pandemic canceling his senior season of high school. He's definitely going to be the face of Notre Dame in the coming years, and it could be as soon as this year. Meanwhile, you also have Clark and Pine, who spent some time serving as the backup quarterback while at Notre Dame. They know the system and they have experience, but it seems unlikely that I think they'll beat out the two names that I mentioned. If I were to guess, I think Jack Coan is named the starter for the season, but if he struggles or if Notre Dame's season doesn't go as planned, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a turnover to Tyler Buckner. We'll switch things over to the Texas Longhorns, who are going to have a battle between two pretty solid quarterback options. They currently have a battle going on between Thompson and Hudson Cart. We'll start with Thompson, who saw brief time as the Longhorns quarterback last season, while he sat behind Sam Ehlinger. He's been the backup for 2 years and hasn't really ever seen much playing time aside from mop-up duty. However, he was given a chance in their bowl game last season against Colorado when Ehlinger left with an injury. He threw for 170 yards and had 4 touchdown passes, and he did all this while attempting only 10 passes. Small sample size, I know, but he looked really damn good in a bowl game against a pretty good Colorado team. The other option we have is Hudson Cart, who saw a few snaps here and there last season for Texas as well. Coming out of high school, he was one of the most highly touted quarterbacks in the entire country. The only quarterbacks ahead of him in his recruiting class were Bryce Young, DJ Uiagalelei, and CJ Stroud. And 2 of those guys are going to be Heisman contenders this season, and the other could very well be one too. So he's in some pretty good company with those names. This is one of the few quarterback battles on here where I think at the moment it's potentially a 50-50 shot, and I could see it going either way. Before we get to the next 5 battles, if you could give this video a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps share the video with more college football fans, and it only takes a second to do. The next battle we have takes place at Florida State, although I think I'm pretty confident as to who their starter is going to be. Nonetheless, it's still a competition and truly anything can happen. Players we have fighting for the job are Mackenzie Milton and Jordan Travis. Obviously, Mackenzie Milton is going to be the frontrunner here. He finished in the top 10 of Heisman voting twice while he was at UCF, and when healthy, I definitely think he has a chance to be a top 10 quarterback in the nation. Now, I did say when healthy. Mackenzie Milton, as you guys know, is coming off arguably one of the worst injuries we've seen in college football over the last decade. If he's fully healthy and ready to go, I expect him to be the starter. However, if he's unable to go for whatever reason, Florida State has some other options. Jordan Travis saw some time with the Noles last season. He appeared in 12 games total over the last 2 years and has thrown for 1,100 yards with 6 passing touchdowns. He's also a really good mobile quarterback, as he's rushed for 800 yards with 10 rushing touchdowns while averaging nearly 7 yards a carry. Again, assuming Mackenzie Milton stays healthy, this will be his job to lose, and I think Jordan Travis is going to be the backup quarterback no matter what. However, if something were to happen to Milton, I expect Travis to step up and be the starting quarterback for the Noles. Coming up next, we have the Oregon Ducks. They saw Tyler Shuck transfer to Texas Tech, meaning there's going to be a new starting quarterback in Eugene in 2021. It looks like we're going to be seeing Anthony Brown and Ty Thompson battling for the starting spot. Anthony Brown saw some action late last season for the Ducks. After spending time with Boston College as their starting quarterback for a number of years, Brown has the only experience on this team as a starting quarterback in college football. I think he's the safe bet to win the starting job, but Ty Thompson is easily a guy who can surprise a lot of people. He was ranked as the number 39 overall prospect in the 2021 class and was the 4th best pro-style quarterback in the 24/7 composite rankings. Out of all of the great Oregon quarterbacks we've seen over the years, he's actually one of the highest rated quarterbacks they've ever had. In 3 seasons as the starting quarterback in high school, he threw for 10,000 yards with 100 touchdown passes while adding 1,200 yards on the ground with 20 rushing touchdowns. He's definitely going to be the quarterback of the future and potentially as early as this season. But like I said, considering Anthony Brown has the only starting experience, I expect him to come out with the job. Originally, it looked like LSU was going to have a battle between 3 different players, but TJ Finley then transferred to Auburn, making the battle come down to Miles Brennan and Max Johnson. Both of these guys showed promise last season for the Tigers in what turned out to be a rebuilding year. Miles Brennan started out for LSU and was pretty solid. In 3 games for the Tigers, he threw for 1,100 yards with 10 passing touchdowns. However, an injury ended his season early. Then, as a freshman, Max Johnson came in and threw for over 1,000 yards with 8 touchdowns. He also added 100 yards on the ground and rushed in a couple of touchdowns. If he's able to fully recover and looks good, I think that the starting job is going to go to Brennan. However, having a backup quarterback with solid experience already under his belt can definitely make this competition a little more interesting. We're going to go back to the Pac-12 as Washington has a really interesting quarterback battle going on. The contenders are Dylan Morris, Patrick O'Brien, and Sam Heward. The name that immediately stands out is Sam Heward, who is the highest rated quarterback to ever sign with Washington. He was a 5-star quarterback and one of the highest quarterback recruits from the 2021 class. He only started 2 games as a senior, but the rest of his high school career is truly incredible. He was a 4-year starter and put up some video game-like numbers, as he threw for 13,000 yards with 145 touchdowns and only 21 interceptions. Dylan Morris was the starting quarterback last year for the Huskies. The freshman threw for 900 yards with 4 touchdown passes, while leading his team to a 3-1 record and the Pac-12 North Division title. Meanwhile, you also have Patrick O'Brien, who has the most experience. He was the starting quarterback for Colorado State over the last 2 seasons. He threw for 3,400 yards and 16 touchdowns in 15 games for them. So, Washington has 3 very different directions they can go in. They can go with the guy who has the most experience in college football, the guy who was your starter last season but only has 4 games under his belt, or the most highly touted freshman quarterback in the entire country. This battle, actually low-key, might be one of the most exciting quarterback battles to follow throughout the rest of the year. We're going to wrap this list up with Tennessee. It looks like the different names we're going to have fighting for the starting spot include Hendon Hooker, Harrison Bailey, Kaden Salter, and Brian Maurer. After over 40 games under his belt with the Volunteers, Jared Garantano transferred to Washington State this offseason. The name with the most experience is easily Hendon Hooker. Over the last 2 seasons for Virginia Tech, he's appeared in 18 games while throwing for 2,900 yards with 22 passing touchdowns, while rushing for over 1,000 yards and 15 rushing touchdowns. Harrison Bailey saw time at quarterback last year for the Vols. In 6 games, he completed 70% of his passes for 600 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. Brian Maurer also has experience under his belt, as he's attempted 81 passes over the last 2 seasons. Finally, you have incoming 4-star quarterback Kaden Salter. Last season, he threw for 2,600 yards with 31 passing touchdowns while rushing for over 1,000 yards with 14 rushing touchdowns in high school. This right here is another battle that's going to be really interesting and a fun one to follow. You have a player with a lot of experience over the last 2 seasons, 2 who have already played for Tennessee, and one of the highest quarterback signees they've had over the last few decades. It's definitely going to be a competitive battle over the next few months. Well, those are 10 quarterback battles that I've currently got my eye on. Which one of these battles are you looking forward to the most? Drop a comment down below and let me know who you think is going to win a certain competition. Is there a really competitive quarterback battle going on that I didn't mention on this list? Well, let me know in the comments below and I might make a part 2 going over more competitions. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. If you love college football content like this, then this is definitely the place for you. I'm going to be posting a ton of college football videos leading up to the season. Is there a college football video that you have an idea on that you'd like to see a video of? Well, drop a comment down below and it very well could be my next video I make. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.